We've been working with fractions for the past week using magnetiles and fraction stacks in class. We've been using these kinds of objects to make discoveries about how fractions can be used to represent part of a whole or part of a group. In this first picture example, we see how a fraction might be used to represent part of a whole. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts in all, and 3 of the parts are shaded. So we might describe the part of this whole with the fraction 3/5, because 3 out of 5 parts are shaded in all. We might also use fractions to represent part of a group. In this example, we have 5 circles. 3 of the 5 circles are red, so we might say 3/5 of the circles are red. Again, using the fraction 3/5 to represent part of the group of circles. So part of a whole and part of a group are two instances that we might use a fraction. And today, we're going to think of fractions in a new way. Fractional parts of a group. If we were asked to think of finding 1/3 of 12, we might use an object like stars to help us represent this idea. In this example, the number 12 tells us how many objects in all. When we look at the fraction 1/3, we see that the denominator is 3. The denominator tells us how many groups we need to make out of our objects, the number of groups. It looks like we're ready to set to work. If we were going to find 1/3 of 12 stars, we would look at our 12 stars and we would start by making 3 groups. I notice that I can make one group with the top row, a second group of 4 stars with the second row, and a third group of 4 stars with the third row. This might be reminding you a lot of how we learn division, because we are taking 12 and we're putting it into 3 equal groups. You notice when we look at our equal groups, there are 4 stars in each group. When we're trying to think of 1/3 of 12, the numerator, 1, tells us that we're going to consider one of the 3 groups. When I look at one of the 3 groups, such as this group, this first group, I see that there are 4 stars in that first group. So we would answer this question by saying 1/3 of 12 equals 4. Because when we divide 12 into 3 equal groups, one of those groups has 4 stars in it. So 1/3 of 12 equals 4. Let's do another example. This time, let's consider the question, find 2/3 of 12. Again, we have 12 stars, and the number 12 tells us how many stars in all. And again, we have a denominator of 3. The denominator tells us the number of equal groups that we are going to divide our stars into. Once again, I see that I can make 1 equal group, 2 equal groups, and 3 equal groups. The numerator, the top number, shows us that we are asked to tell how many stars there are in 2 of those equal groups. If I consider 4 from the first group plus 4 more from the second group, I see that 2/3 of 12 equals 8 in all, because we have 4 from the first group plus 4 from a second group, which equals 8. 1/3 of 12 equals 8. Let's do one more example. Here's an example where we are asked to find 1/5 of 10. Like always, 10 tells us how many in all. The denominator of the fraction, 5, tells us the number of groups that we're going to make. I'm going to set to work making 5 equal groups out of these 10 hearts. I see that I can make 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups. The numerator, or top number of fraction, tells us how many groups we are going to consider. They're asking us to find 1/5 of 10. So I am going to find one of my 5 groups. I see here that one of my 5 groups has 2 hearts in it. So we would answer this question by saying 1/5 of 10 equals 2. Make sure to answer the sample questions and bring any questions that you have about this lesson to class with you tomorrow. See you then.